Everybody, it's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be talking about perseverance, and it's not a particular lesson on what to play. It's just applying perseverance in your practice schedule. This way you prepare for your shows. Something I see a lot, and actually myself, I've struggled with this in the past, is just perseverance, having the patience to put the time in. Whether you're learning scales, chords, whatever it may be. A lot of times you pick the guitar up, you're going to practice, and within 5 minutes you're just doing other stuff. You haven't stuck to a routine. All right, and it doesn't matter what it is. If you know whatever you're learning, if you're learning to solo, you're learning to play chords. If you're working on just finger memory and strength, doing walking up through that, or just practicing your chord changes. It takes perseverance. It takes hard work. You don't go from in a week. All right, it takes time. It took a long time to go from Twinkle Twinkle Little Star to Life by the Drops intro, Stevie Ray Vaughan. It took a long time and a lot of work and a lot of practice. One thing I highly recommend is having a routine. If you're going to just practice once a week or 2 times a week, set those days aside if your schedule allows for it. If it's a Tuesday night, 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever your schedule allows for, and stick to it and just practice, and just run through whatever you're working on. Like if you're working on a pentatonic scale, don't just do it 2 or 3 times there. I got it. Just run through, 20 times, 30 times. Until you're comfortable with it and you're not making mistakes, and then the following week you do it again and you add something else to it. You're always adding, but you're always going back and learning the first stuff you learn. You don't just say, oh, okay, I got it down, you forget it, because when you need to use it, if you hear a chicken in the background, that's my wife has a sick chicken down here, so she's got like 13 chickens, and one of them she's nursing back to health. So if you hear them, that's what that is. Anyways, when you need to use a scale, you're improvising and you're soloing, If you're not comfortable with it, you're more often than not going to make mistakes. You're not going to know where to go. So if you have it almost every week, every time you practice, you run through those, you become really comfortable and become second nature. They become muscle memory. And that's the goal, is to be able to do stuff without having to think about it. Examples like if you're learning in your beginning, you're learning chords, practice the key of G common chords, and change it like G, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor. That's a D/F sharp I did before the G gangs. I usually don't do the diminished chords. They're not used that often. Not to say you don't need them, but if you're just beginning and you're learning the basic chords of a key, or key of C. Up. That's because I don't run through that very often, but knowing your keys, knowing what chords are in that key. Let me try it again. C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, back to C. All right, I left that B diminished out again, just a little passing note. Anyways, but run through it. Play that over and over and go through it. And try them in different orders, but practice repeatedly. It becomes really repetitive, and it might seem boring and it might not be enjoyable at first, but then when you can apply those and you're out jamming with somebody, you're having some fun, you can actually plug that in, and you don't have to you don't have to think as much. You can play and feel it when you don't have to think about it. That's the best way to put it, is when you're not worried about the theory of it and where to go, and you're just playing and it's comfortable because you have that already trained in your brain. It becomes a much more enjoyable process. Like I said in the beginning, it's monotonous, it's boring. And it's very difficult, of course, when you're first starting, but eventually, trust me, it gets easier. Perseverance works in every part of your life. I mean, even for me, I came from a time where I was almost homeless back in the late 90s. I was living on a friend's futon for a long time, like 6 months. We were drinking, doing drugs. I owned one guitar. It was my first one. And then I traded it for another one, a Tele. But I kept pawning it. That's all I had to my name was a little amp, that guitar, and I had a couple clothes. And I lived on his futon, and we just stayed inebriated quite a bit. But then I knew I had to get out of that situation. It wasn't going to change if I kept doing the same thing every day. So little by little, I made changes. I moved to another area, started fresh, and kept playing my guitar. But I quit the drugs, most of it, slowed down the drinking. Just little by little, I kept making changes and building on the changes I had made until I got to the point where I had turned my life around. I'm doing much better, Now I don't do any drugs. I rarely drink. I'm not living on a futon anymore. But there's a whole lot of backstory to that. But if you just keep making changes, build on those changes, whether it's your life, work, your guitar playing, you will see improvements. You will see a change. Okay? So yeah, that's. I just wanted to talk about that. And I know it's tough in the beginning, but patience is a virtue. Patience and that perseverance to just keep at it. Your fingers are hurting. You're tired of playing the same thing. It's the only thing you know how to play. You only know 3 or 4 chords. That's fine. Keep playing those, and then add something new. Just throw something on top of, something new this week. Learn first position of the pentatonic, then the second position, then the third, fourth, the fifth positions, and apply those in different keys, and then now you know quite a bit, more than most beginners. And then add a couple notes to each one to make it the major scale. And then once you learn those, you'll already know your natural minors. There's a whole lot of theory I don't want to get into, but you'll see as you start progressing, just adding those little things, eventually get to the point where you are building, but always go back and work on that beginning stuff. Don't just forget it. Don't just put it off, because you will forget it. There's been times where I don't do my scales and I forget the patterns after a while. So I go back and I have to rework them, and you've got to keep doing that. And eventually, like that, they just stick in your brain once you've done it long enough for many years. All right, so perseverance, that's what I wanted to talk about today. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you next time as usual. Any suggestions, any comments, put them in the box down there. I'll see what I can do for you. See you next time.